We're visiting the garden of Bridget and Peter Turner today. Now, they have been in gardening and in a movement of Indigenous gardening for many, many years. In fact, they're still part of the Kloof Conservancy, which has been going for 21 years, which works to raise funds, create awareness of Indigenous gardening in and around the KwaZulu-Natal area, especially in the Kloof and the Upper Highway, and specifically open their garden, and their garden has been opened 3 times. It's a genuinely unique garden, something that blows my mind, and when I walk around it, I feel like I'm in a game reserve. The grassland, the aloes, the diversity is just beautiful. And what a way to be welcomed to the garden by our local graffiti artist, Giffy, with a love and a passion for Indigenous gardens, with this red hot poker that is on steroids, baby. And this really does epitomize what we're in store for when we go through this garden. So come with me and let's take a look.
About 83, we were looking for a property, and I have always had an interest in birds, botany, wildlife, that sort of thing, and I wanted a stream as a feature of it. And this was a beautiful piece of natural grassland, undisturbed really, and that was it. It sold us on it. And we also then, in fact, it was Bridget's not insistence but suggestion, that although I thought I knew everything about garden design because I said just copy nature, she said, why don't you do a course and learn a little more about it? And in fact I did, and I attended Bruce Stead's course. He was a lecturer at Varsity in Durban, and it was really fantastic because he was concentrating on incorporating Indigenous plants into garden design. And it led from there. The whole garden design that we planned on originally here was to make a mini botanical garden with plants represented from south of the Zambezi for the rest of Southern Africa. So it was a simple passion.
I think right at the beginning this was Pete's domain, and he chose what plants he wanted. But then when he went to work in Mozambique for a while, late 90s, I was left with it. And to try and find Indigenous plants was actually very difficult. I'd go to nurseries and they'd tell me XYZ were Indigenous, then he'd come home and pull them out and say they weren't. So I did battle, and then I found someone in Hillcrest who had her own nursery, and she helped me a lot. Nowadays we just replant what works here. We don't really buy more plants.
So we restricted our planting specifically to allow the Indigenous plants to do well, and just adding those specific trees of interest.
There you are. So the one thing they've got really right about this garden is seating. So often we only put seating in for aesthetic reasons, put it at the end of the pathway so that there's a focal point. Have it at the end of the paving because it works. But this seating has a purpose. It was made for me. I'm sitting underneath a monkey orange tree. Insane. I mean, I've only seen these in game reserves. It's Strychnus spinosa, huge clustered fruit, which is great to eat. And yeah, I can see a lot. I can see the aloes in flower. But what they've done really beautifully is that I'm drawn into different areas of the garden right from here, if I can get myself out of this chair, into all the other seating areas, whether it's under a tree, whether it's nestled within the pathway, within the grassland. So don't be scared. Don't be scared to add more. Add more so that you can actually get to places within your garden that you can enjoy it. Because that's why we do it, don't we?
Well, we don't really want to do too much more. I mean, the idea is to allow the Indigenous plants to develop. And in fact, part of the idea of Indigenous gardening is low maintenance. And to maintain grassland, which in its natural state would have fires, would be burnt every so often from lightning or whatever. And what that in fact does is it kills off the small seedlings of plants, trees and stuff, and maintains the grass. If you don't burn, those saplings become too strong, and the next burn you don't kill them, and the trees eventually invade the grassland. So that's the reason for burning, and it would be about every 2 years. That's what we normally do.
One of the best take-home ideas that I've got from this garden are the pathways. There's so many of them. They're uninhibited. They take you right through the grassland on your own little adventure. But most importantly, it's the material that's been used. It's simply river sand. It's river sand that you can get by the bag, by the bucky load from your local hardware store. It's put down. In terms of maintenance, all it is a rake. And interestingly enough, there's no edging because we want it to be natural. So it's very organic. And they've ticked some boxes in terms of low maintenance, in terms of ease of use and affordability. I like it, and so should you.